this, Laura. This is good. And it will be better with one candle.
Wait, it's nobody's birthday. Hello everyone, welcome back to another video. My name is Leia if you're new here, and tonight we're just going to be making dinner, but it's going to be kind of a special dinner because we're going to make a chocolate zucchini cake, and the dinner itself is going to be steak tips in butter and garlic. And then on the side we are going to do some sweet potatoes and some corn, I think, if I don't fizzle out. So let's get this started. So the first thing I'm going to do is get started on this cake. And to do this, I am going to cut out little parchment paper circles, and I'm going to prepare the pans. So I'm going to oil them, I'm going to flour them, and then I'm going to put the parchment in there so that it doesn't stick to the bottom. Now, let me tell you guys, I thought I was going to make this cake simply because I have a lot of zucchini, and this is just a fun, quirky way to use up a lot of zucchini. But let me tell you, this was the best chocolate cake I have ever made, to the point that I don't think I will ever make a chocolate cake again that does not have zucchini in it. So do with that what you will, but I feel like it is the secret ingredient to an amazing chocolate cake. And you cannot even see the zucchini in it when you cut it open unless you look really, really hard. So I think it was a winner. The next step of this process is mixing up all of the dry ingredients, and I started measuring out my flour by the cup, and then I looked at the recipe and realized that I could just weigh my flour. And whenever I can weigh dry ingredients, I have come to love doing that. It is so much more simple. You only need one scooper. You don't have to sit there and fuss with it. I just think it's way easier than try to get all the different things and guessing and hoping that your scoops aren't too dense. I also love to keep this little colander or sieve handy in our kitchen, and anytime I'm using spices or baking soda or baking powder, I just drop them into this sieve, and it's super handy because we try to buy things that have no flow agents added to them, so no chemicals that prevent like clumping or caking or whatever. And so I just drop them in this sieve and stir them through, and it's an easy added step for us to have clean food. Also, talking to all you moms who may have busy houses, one of my favorite things to do when I'm baking, and especially with baking because I'm prone to missing steps and ingredients and whatnot, my favorite thing is to lay everything that I'm going to have to use out on the counter ahead of time. And this paid off today because as I was mixing up these dry ingredients, I went to put everything away after I was done, and I realized that I still had cocoa out on my counter, and I had in fact forgotten to add the cocoa, which is just I get interrupted so many times when I'm cooking. So if you have it all out there, then at the end you realize I actually haven't reached for that yet, and I must have missed a step. So that definitely saved me today. Also, I'm not actually using Hershey's cocoa. I just have that container and I refill it, but we get all of our cocoa from Azure Standard. The next step is cutting up these zucchini, and I did debate whether or not to peel them, and whenever I can, I'm going to take the easier route, and I decided not to peel them, and it was totally fine. I could not see any of this in the cake when I was finished. Also, I squeezed out all of the moisture, and it's worth noting that the recipe does say to only blot with paper towels, and I thought I would do one better and squeeze out the moisture, and then I went back and read, and actually you are not supposed to squeeze out all of the moisture the way that I did. Regardless, my cake turned out really well, so it seems like it's pretty forgiving either way. The next step is mixing up all of the wet ingredients, and I really like this recipe because you could add all of the wet ingredients in one go. So I am adding our brown sugar and white sugar in, and we buy this coarse sugar from Azure Standard, and then we also make our brown sugar out of this, so we add molasses to it. So that's how we get that. And then I'm using their organic canola oil. We do not cook very much with canola oil, so don't come for me. I probably could have subbed avocado oil, but I do think it changes the taste a little bit, and this was just a fun cake. So I'm going to mix these all up and then get it over to the KitchenAid for mixing. Again, I really appreciated how simple this cake was. You didn't have to do multiple additions of wet and dry ingredients like some cakes do. I literally was able to just add all of the wet, and then you add the zucchini, and then you add your dry ingredients, and then at the very end you add chocolate chips. Now these chocolate chips are the mini chocolate chips from Azure Standard, and I bought these right when cocoa prices were going up, except these for some reason had not gone up yet. So I bought these back when it was like I don't know, $180-ish for 35 pounds or 33 pounds. I can't remember what they sell it by. And now that same amount is like over $300. It's insane. So we are enjoying our cheap cocoa still, but I'm sure eventually I'm going to have to buy full price cocoa once more. I did not notice until after I had prepared these, but the notes do say that if you don't want to fuss with the 2 different rounds, you can do this in a 9x13 pan, which I 100% would have done on this day if I had known that, but it was too late by the time I realized, and it actually turned out wonderful, so no big deal. Also, I don't think I mentioned it yet, but I used the Sally's Baking Addiction recipe, and I will link it below because it was amazing. I did use the icing recipe in it as well, although I didn't do all of the cocoa she suggested. I did kind of a light chocolate because I know my husband doesn't love when something is like chocolate on chocolate on chocolate. The next thing I'm going to do is get started on the dinner sides. So here I have some corn, and we buy our corn in bulk from a local farm, and this is the first picking, and it has been a little bit rough, but I thought it was funny tonight because there was actually a literal worm still in one of these corns. So I set that aside to be taken out to the chickens, and we're gonna peel these other ones here. We have a ton more in the fridge, so we're just trying to use this up. But you know how when you buy something, suddenly your kids stop eating it? That's kind of how corn has been for us this year. Last year they loved corn, and this year every single time I serve it, it doesn't really get eaten. So I don't know if we'll be buying another sack this year, but we'll have to see. We'll play it by ear. I also washed up these purple sweet potatoes here, and they are going to boil. And then I'm just going to prepare this bowl to go out to the chickens. It's really nice because one of my kids is able to open the chicken run on their own, so now I can just send a bowl out with them and nothing goes to waste. I recruited my husband to do the chopping tonight because one of my kids needed me, and we always use this glass cutting board now for our meat. We got a nice wooden cutting board, and we feel gross when we can't put a cutting board in the dishwasher that we've just chopped meat on. So this one can go in the dishwasher, and it's not great for the knives, but we only use it for this purpose. While the oil is heating up, I'm going to get a quick temperature on the cake. Our oven runs really hot, and I don't know what's wrong with it. I've heard you have to get it recalibrated or something or other. I really don't know. But whenever I'm cooking a cake or cookies or something like that, I try to take the temperature of it because that helps me make sure that I'm not burning it. Otherwise, I've been known to pull it out too early because I'm scared my oven is going to burn it, and then too late and it's burnt. And so anyway, I take the temperature. I'm looking for 200 to 210 degrees, and we were able to get our cake perfect tonight. Now I've salted and peppered my meat, and I'm just testing this to see if the oil is hot, and it wasn't quite ready yet, but after a few minutes I added the rest of it. And part of the reason I used my biggest pan was because I did not want these to, I guess it's called braise, when there's moisture. You know, I wanted them to sear really well, and unfortunately they still did not sear. This meat seemed to release a ton of moisture even though it was already perfectly thawed. I don't really know what happened. We have been struggling a little bit to cook with the meat from this cow. We found it's very high in omegas, and you can taste it. It tastes different, so that has been a learning curve for sure. The butter and garlic definitely made the meat taste a little bit better, but I will say the meat is still just kind of tough, so we are definitely learning. If you have any favorite recipes for ways that you cook pasture-raised beef, we would love to know because we have a lot of unique cuts to get through and tons of cubed beef, so we're gonna have to learn some tricks. Here's our finished plate. I added butter and a little bit of sugar and some salt to the sweet potatoes, and they were delicious.
And it will be better with one candle.
Wait, it's nobody's birthday. Thank you all so much for watching, and I will see you in the next video. Bye-bye.